Hello everyone, welcome to Data Science with Partha. In today's video, we will discuss the attributes lock, name, shape and size. We will continue using the IDIS dataset for our examples like we have done in the previous videos. So let's look at the lock attribute. So now I'll be switching over to the PyCharm. So here as you can see, I've already imported the data frame and the data. To import the data, all we did was we have imported pandas, datasets from scikit-learn, and using these datasets we have taken the IDIS data using the load IDIS method. Now, once the data frame is there for us, let's talk a little bit about the lock method. So the lock method is short for location. It is very similar to the iLock attribute that we have discussed in the previous sessions. Now the basic difference is that the iLock attribute refers to the integer location, whereas the lock attribute refers to the label of the series. So sometimes we might have named labels which can be referred using the particular name that has been given to that label. So for example, let's create a dummy data. So I'm going to call this data frame df1, and to create the data frame we are going to call on pd.dataframe. Inside this I'll pass in a list. Let's say we have a list of 3 numbers 1, 2 and 3, and to give this particular name for the labels, I'm going to go for this option of index. So inside index I'm going to give 3 names. So let's say we give the names alpha, beta and gamma. And since we're creating a data frame, let's also give a column name. So to give the column name, we can take this option of columns, and inside the columns, let's say I'm going to call the column as my call. You can give any kind of name. I'm just giving this name. So now as soon as we run this, you can see we have this df1 successfully loaded inside the console. So if we click view data frame, you can see now instead of the labels 0, 1 and 2, we have the names alpha, beta and gamma, and this particular column is called as my call. So this is a data frame. But since we are discussing on series, what we'll do right now is we can take df1 of my call. So if we run this, you'll see that we have this series object. Now let's apply the lock method on this particular series. So here if I say .loc, and now let's say I want to take the information which is stored in that particular label called alpha. All I have to do is inside .loc I have to pass in alpha, and as soon as we run this, you can see Python has given out the value as 1. Similarly, you can take information if we have a bigger data frame, whatever particular name we want with respect to that particular series, we can take that name, and from that name itself we can actually get this particular or refer to this particular data that is stored for that particular named index. Now the next attribute that we would talk about is the name attribute. So the name attribute is self-explanatory. It actually gives the name of the series that we are referring to. So for example, if we go back to the df data frame. So we had the iris data inside it, and let's go for the sepal length. So this is the sepal length series that we had. We had about 150 elements inside this. So if I want to take out this particular name, now when I ran this, you can see we have this name, length and D types. So if I want the name of this particular series, all we have to do is write dot name, and if we run this, Python is going to give us this particular name, that is sepal length of centimeters. Now, once this is done, let's move to the next attribute, that is the shape attribute. Now the shape attribute simply returns a tuple which contains the rows and columns of the data under consideration. So here, since we're talking in terms of series, and we know series always has a single column that we are referring to. So when we actually type in shape, you will never find a column number. So let me show what I mean by this. So let's say, now let's simply copy this. So I'm copying the sepal length series. Now this is the series that we have ran previously. Now if I take this attribute dot shape, and if I run this, now pay very close attention to the output. We have gotten a tuple which says 150 comma and there is no number after that. This is happening because in a series we only have one column, that is the series itself. So we don't need to give any kind of special value of the column. So it doesn't have to give 150 comma 1. Okay, so if it simply says 150 comma, you can understand this is a particular series that we are talking about. Now since we have 150 comma and this also tells the number of rows, the next attribute size only specifically gives us the number of the elements in the series under consideration. So here, instead of dot shape, if we go for the dot size, so I'm going to copy this, and here I'm going to just change the attribute to dot size. And if I run this, now you can see it is only focusing on that 150. So number of elements in the particular series under consideration, directly you have that one number. So usually when you go for dot shape or dot size, especially if you're working on a series, I generally prefer going for dot size rather than dot shape. Okay, dot shape is more useful when you are working with data frames. So in a data frame, you would have a bunch of rows and columns. So let me show you what I mean by that. So if I take this particular data frame, so I'm talking about the DF, okay, where we have all these columns and rows. So if I say DF dot shape, and if I run this, now you can see Python is telling me this DF or this data frame has 150 elements and we have 5 columns. So dot shape will be more useful when we are working with data frames rather than with series. With series, usually you can directly go with dot size. Both will give you almost the same information. So dot shape will give you 150 comma no number, and we have dot size which will give you directly 150. So technically both of them are giving the exact same information in terms of a series. So this is what I have for you guys in this video. In the next video, we will begin exploring the various methods of the series object. So till now what we have done is we have discussed the various attributes From the next video, we will focus our attention on the different methods. Thank you.